one day, and this is in college, you walk into your kitchen and your entire family and your friends are there to give you an intervention.
The drinking had got to the point where I couldn't go to sleep sober. And I would cry all the time when I was drunk, which was the indicator of like, as we said, I learned how to not feel sober. So I was crying all the time drunk. So everything had gotten to, and I was also like doing a bunch of other drugs, just anything so I wouldn't be sober.
Yeah.
So I walk into my kitchen and my entire family is there. It's like my mom, one of my family friends' moms, my aunt, my uncle, my dad, my sister, two of my best friends from college, and an interventionist. And I walked in and I just sat down. Like, I didn't protest. I knew what was happening, but I also didn't know that the deal was, and now you have to go to rehab today. Basically, it's like at an intervention, you sit down and everyone reads how your alcoholism and addiction has impacted them. And it's very emotional. And people who aren't there also send in letters. So like my grandma, my Filipino grandma, who's been in a bunch of my TikToks, had to send in a letter and all that stuff. And then they finish it with like, and so now we need you to go to Florida to rehab today. And I remember being like, oh, well, I can't. Like, I have to finish school. Like, let me finish the school year and I'll go this summer.
Right.
Like, let me do a summer rehab, you guys. Like, this is fucking with the plan. And then the interventionist is like, okay, are you refusing help? And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, okay, everyone turn to the next page. Next page in their packets is how I'm no longer in their lives. And everyone goes around saying, you will no longer exist to us. Like, I've cut you off financially. I will not respond to a single text. I'll not do anything. It's going around, and it gets my sister, and she breaks down and is just like, don't let dad read his letter. And my dad started crying too. And as I've said, my dad like rarely cries, and seeing him cry, I just knew at that point what it was. It was like, you're going to be homeless and cut off from the family. You'll never be like, I will be alone. And as I said, I felt alone was safe, but like I could not be that. Like I knew I was forced into it in a good way. Like I needed to go to rehab, but that was the end of it. Oh, and my aunt was there. One of my aunts who is now, she passed away a year after I got sober. But she was also there, and like I think her like breast cancer had come back around that time, so she was there. And like seeing her there, saying how confusing it was to see me go through this was also heartbreaking at its time. But I was not surprised when the intervention happened.
Yeah.
I was really destructive and like crying when I was drunk, angry when I was drunk. I would yell at my friends. Like if they wanted to help me, I would like push them away. I was like I was letting out, I think, all of the feelings that from 15 on I had learned to not feel.
Right.
When I said don't feel.
Right.
Like,
and then when you're drunk, it just comes out.
it just comes out.
So you go to rehab, and I remember reading, like you said, after getting sober, things didn't just completely change overnight. Like you still lightly were participating in activities that you weren't proud of.
Yeah.
What patterns, like with yourself, were you kind of like still engaging in?
Like, when I went to rehab, when I stopped drinking a month in, I lost like 25 pounds because of like the literal like alcohol flushing out of my body basically. And I started going to the gym. So I got in shape, and I was like, I had gotten male attention in a way that I hadn't received it before. And like, it's a slippery slope once you're sober because it's really easy to get addicted to anything else. And so I think like my sexuality is what I leaned into. And like I was like posting thirst traps all the time on Instagram, doing that shit. Like I was like just being, I was just trying to, I was like, that was it was what my like addiction turned into, was like that. And also using my sexuality for control and power and feeling like, oh, I have worth. That's what it was. I was placing my worth in that. And so that resulted in like activity that I didn't like, whether it was like sending pictures to people that I shouldn't have, or pictures or videos or some shit like that. But also even saying that, like, I don't blame myself for those moments because we've all done
us.
like to a certain degree, something like that. But it had gotten to a point where it was like I was doing it at a level where like I knew it was past what when I was logically thinking was comfortable with. Like
yes.
when I was walking around day to day, I was like, I don't like that. This is kind of what I'm doing. Like if I'm really honest with myself, I think around that time, if OnlyFans had been as big, that's what I probably would have done that.
Yeah.
But like I didn't, and like then that's not like, again, that's not a slight to anyone who does OnlyFans. Live your dreams, but like at that era, right after becoming sober, was not something I should have been playing with.
Yeah.
But I leaned into it because I was also really used to doing the wrong thing. Often.
Hi Daddy Gang, thank you so much for watching this video. Keep in mind that was just a little clip from the episode. If you want to watch the entire full video episode, it is linked below. It's the first thing in the description. Go watch it. It's a great episode. Love you all. I will see you next Wednesday.